What if one of the most powerful families in your town was hiding deadly secrets? For nearly a century, the Murdaugh name commanded respect across South Carolina's Lowcountry. They were prosecutors, influential attorneys, and one of the most powerful legal families in the state. People trusted them, feared them. Some believed they were untouchable. But on the night of June 7, 2021, that reputation began to collapse. A frantic 911 call reported a horrifying scene at the family's rural hunting estate known as Moselle. A wife, a son, both shot to death. The man who made the call was Alex Murdaugh, a well-known attorney whose family had built a legal empire over generations. At first, he appeared to be a grieving husband and father. But as investigators dug deeper, they uncovered a web of lies, financial crimes, addiction, and deception so shocking that the murders became only one piece of a much larger mystery. How did one of America's most respected legal dynasties become the center of one of the country's most infamous true crime cases? This is the story of the Murdaugh family. For generations, the Murdaugh family held extraordinary influence in South Carolina's 14th Judicial Circuit. Beginning in 1920, 3 generations of Murdaugh men served as elected solicitors, the equivalent of district attorneys, prosecuting criminal cases for more than 80 years. The family also operated a successful personal injury law firm that earned millions of dollars. Their name opened doors. Police officers knew them. Judges knew them. Lawyers respected them. Many locals believed that if a Murdaugh was involved in a case, the outcome might be different. Alex Murdaugh grew up surrounded by that legacy. He eventually joined the family law firm, married Maggie Murdaugh, and together they raised 2 sons, Buster and Paul. To outsiders, they appeared to live an ideal Southern lifestyle. Luxury homes, boats, private hunting land, expensive vacations. But behind that image, serious problems were already growing. Years before the murders, tragedy had already touched the family. In July 2015, 19-year-old Stephen Smith was found dead on a rural road. His death was initially investigated as a possible hit-and-run. However, investigators found inconsistencies that led some to question that conclusion. Over the years, rumors circulated throughout the community about possible connections to influential local families, including speculation involving members of the Murdaugh family. No charges were filed, and no evidence publicly established that the Murdaugh family was responsible for Stephen Smith's death. Years later, after the murders at Moselle, state investigators reopened Stephen Smith's case based on information uncovered during the broader Murdaugh investigation. His death remains under investigation. Another incident would bring even greater scrutiny. On February 24, 2019, Paul Murdaugh allegedly drove the family's boat while heavily intoxicated. Late that night, the boat crashed into a bridge piling. Several passengers were thrown into the freezing water. 19-year-old Mallory Beach disappeared. Her body was found nearly a week later. The boating accident devastated 2 families and shocked the community. Paul was charged with boating under the influence, resulting in death and serious injury. He pleaded not guilty while awaiting trial. For the first time, public attention focused intensely on the Murdaugh family. Many questioned whether Paul's family influence would help him avoid accountability. Civil lawsuits seeking millions of dollars followed. Financial pressure on Alex Murdaugh was growing. Then came June 7, 2021. That evening, Alex claimed he visited his elderly mother before returning to Moselle. When he arrived near the property's dog kennels, he said he found Maggie and Paul dead. Paul had suffered devastating shotgun wounds. Maggie had been shot multiple times with a rifle. The killings were brutal. Investigators quickly secured the crime scene. But almost immediately, questions emerged. There were no signs of forced entry. Nothing appeared stolen. The attack seemed personal. Who would kill both victims? And why? Initially, investigators explored multiple possibilities. Could someone angry over the boating accident have sought revenge? Did Paul have enemies? Was the family targeted because of their wealth? Alex publicly suggested that threats connected to the boat crash might explain the murders. For months, many believed that theory. But investigators quietly continued examining every detail. One crucial piece of evidence would change everything. Paul's cell phone contained a short video recorded only minutes before the murders. The video seemed ordinary. Friends later identified voices in the background. Among them was Alex Murdaugh. This created a major problem. Alex had repeatedly told investigators he was not at the kennels shortly before the killings. The video placed him there. His alibi began to unravel. Investigators also analyzed cell phone records, vehicle data, GPS information, steps recorded on smartphones. Every movement mattered. Digital evidence painted a timeline that conflicted with Alex's statements. According to prosecutors, Alex was at the kennels only minutes before Maggie and Paul stopped using their phones forever. Shortly afterward, his vehicle left the property. Later, he returned and made the emotional 911 call. The timeline became one of the prosecution's strongest arguments. While detectives investigated the murders, another astonishing discovery emerged. Alex Murdaugh had been stealing money. Not hundreds. Not thousands. Millions of dollars. Investigators uncovered years of financial fraud involving clients, law partners, and settlement funds. Some victims were seriously injured people who trusted him to protect their financial futures. Others were families mourning loved ones. Money intended for clients allegedly disappeared into accounts controlled by Alex. The total theft eventually exceeded $8 million. The respected attorney had secretly been living a double life. Then another bizarre event shocked the nation. In September 2021, only 3 months after the murders, Alex reported that he had been shot while changing a tire on the side of the road. Initially, the incident appeared to be another attempt on his life. But investigators soon uncovered a completely different story. Authorities alleged that Alex had arranged the shooting himself. According to prosecutors, he asked an acquaintance, Curtis Edward Smith, to shoot him so his surviving son, Buster, could collect a $10 million life insurance payment. The plan failed. Alex survived. Instead of appearing as another victim, he became the subject of even greater suspicion. As financial investigations expanded, prosecutors developed a theory. They argued that Alex was facing exposure for years of theft. On the very day of the murders, he had reportedly been confronted by a law firm employee about missing money. The prosecution claimed Alex feared his financial crimes were about to be uncovered. They argued that the murders created sympathy, distracted attention, and delayed questions about missing funds. The defense strongly denied this theory. Alex admitted lying about many things. He admitted stealing money. He admitted abusing opioid painkillers for years. But he insisted he did not kill his wife and son. His lawyers argued that investigators became so focused on Alex that they ignored other possible suspects. The murder trial began in January 2023. It quickly became one of the most closely watched criminal trials in America. Every day revealed new evidence. Witnesses described Alex's financial deception. Friends testified about family relationships. Experts analyzed blood evidence, phone data, and forensic timelines. One unforgettable moment came when Alex himself took the witness stand. He admitted lying to investigators about being at the kennels. He blamed paranoia caused by opioid addiction and distrust of law enforcement. But he repeatedly denied committing murder. The prosecution argued that innocent people do not lie about their whereabouts. The defense argued that lying does not automatically prove murder. Jurors carefully watched every answer. Every pause. Every emotion. Another major issue involved the murder weapons. The firearms used to kill Maggie and Paul were never recovered. No eyewitness saw the shootings. No DNA or fingerprint evidence directly placed Alex on the weapons. Instead, prosecutors relied heavily on circumstantial evidence. They argued that when all the pieces were assembled, they pointed to only one reasonable conclusion. The defense countered that circumstantial evidence left room for doubt. The jury would ultimately decide which interpretation was more convincing. On March 2, 2023, after less than 3 hours of deliberation, the jury reached its verdict. Alex Murdaugh was found guilty of murdering Maggie Murdaugh. He was also found guilty of murdering Paul Murdaugh. The following day, he received 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. During sentencing, Judge Clifton Newman spoke directly to Alex. He noted the tragic irony that a man from a family devoted to the legal system had now been convicted of one of its most serious crimes. Alex continued to maintain his innocence. He later appealed his convictions. But the legal drama did not end there. Alex still faced dozens of financial crime charges. Eventually, he pleaded guilty in federal court to numerous financial offenses. He also entered guilty pleas to many related state financial crimes. These admissions confirmed years of fraud affecting numerous victims. Many families finally learned where their missing settlement money had gone. The financial scandal became one of the largest attorney fraud cases in South Carolina history. Meanwhile, investigators continued examining other mysteries connected to the Murdaugh family. The deaths of Stephen Smith and longtime family housekeeper Gloria Satterfield received renewed attention. Gloria had died in 2018 after reportedly falling down the steps at the Murdaugh home. Alex later admitted stealing millions of dollars intended for her sons through insurance settlements. Although her death had originally been ruled accidental, authorities reopened the investigation after the murders. As of today, investigators continue reviewing evidence in both Gloria Satterfield's and Stephen Smith's cases. The Murdaugh story became more than a murder investigation. It exposed how wealth, influence, and public trust can sometimes hide years of misconduct. Many residents who once believed the family was untouchable watched that image collapse in court. The case also demonstrated how modern investigations increasingly rely on digital evidence. A cell phone video lasting less than a minute became one of the most significant pieces of evidence presented at trial. Without it, the outcome might have looked very different. Even today, questions remain. Did Alex truly act alone? Why were 2 different firearms apparently used? Where are the murder weapons? Will every mystery surrounding the Murdaugh family ever be fully explained? Some answers may never come. But one thing is certain. The Murdaugh family name, once associated with power and prestige, is now permanently linked to one of the most extraordinary true crime cases in American history. A dynasty that stood for generations fell in just a few years. Not because of outside enemies, but because investigators followed the evidence, one lie, one financial record, one cell phone, and one devastating video at a time. And in the end, the family's greatest legacy was no longer influence. It was a cautionary tale about what can happen when power goes unchecked, secrets grow too heavy to hide, and the truth finally catches up.